For nearly 2 weeks, the headlines have been dominated by American bombers, Iranian missile launches, Gulf tensions, and threats around the Strait of Hormuz. But one major player has been usually quiet. Well, we're talking about Israel. Yes, the Israel Defense Forces, which has spearheaded the opening phase of the campaign against Iran, have remained largely absent from the battlefield over the last 12 days, while the United States has carried the burden of the latest strikes against Iran. That silence has long raised one question. Is Israel waiting for the biggest mission of this war? Well, because all eyes are now on one place. Pickaxe Mountain, the heavily fortified underground complex near Natanz that American and Israeli intelligence believe could be central to Iran's nuclear future. President Donald Trump has openly declared that the United States could strike the site very heavily soon, while reports suggest that Washington has informed Israel about plans to intensify the offensive. But this is where the story becomes even more interesting. Just as speculation over Pickaxe Mountain intensified, Israel's new Mossad chief reportedly met CIA director to discuss Iran, its nuclear program, and the next phase of intelligence cooperation. Well, the timing of that meeting has inevitably fueled questions about whether military planning is also entering its final stage. While no official has confirmed that a joint operation has been approved, the sequence of events has caught our attention. But why would the United States need Israel if it already possesses the world's most powerful bombers and bunker buster weapons? And if Picax Mountain becomes the next target, will Israel return to the battlefield? Well, we'll answer all these questions in this edition of From the News Desk, so come along and watch this video till the very end. Since the latest phase of the Iran conflict began, American forces have dominated military operations. Long-range bombers, cruise missiles, and naval assets have carried out repeated strikes against Iranian military infrastructure, while Tehran has retaliated through missiles, drones, and attacks linked to regional proxies. Yet Israel has maintained a noticeable lower military profile during this very phase. Well, that does not necessarily mean Israel has stepped away from the war. Military planners often separate operations into different phases. One phase may involve degrading air defenses, another targeting missile sites, while the final phase focuses on strategic objectives. Now, many analysts believe Picaxe Mountain falls into the last category. Well, Picaxe Mountain is not just another military base. It is believed to be one of Iran's deepest underground nuclear facility located close to Natanz. In fact, construction reportedly began after damage to Natanz site in 2020. Since then, Iran has built an extensive underground complex inside the very mountain, complete with multiple tunnels, entrances, and reinforced protection. In fact, International Nuclear Watchdog has time and again acknowledged Iran's broader strategy of moving sensitive nuclear infrastructure underground, though there is no publicly verified evidence proving that enriched uranium is currently stored inside Picaxe Mountain. Israeli intelligence reportedly believes Iran has transferred thousands of centrifuges into the mountain last year. If correct, that would make Picaxe Mountain one of the most strategically important nuclear locations in Iran today. At first glance, the United States appears capable of conducting such an operation alone. It possesses stealth bombers, it has long-range strike aircraft, it has bunker buster bombs. So why involve Israel? Well, the answer goes far beyond dropping bombs. The first reason is intelligence. No country has invested more resources into monitoring Iran's nuclear program than Israel. For years, Mossad has conducted covert operations inside Iran. It has also allegedly infiltrated nuclear facilities, tracked scientists, obtained nuclear archives, and built an extensive intelligence network there. And if America wants to strike one of the world's most secretive underground facilities, precise intelligence about tunnel layouts, entrances, ventilation shafts, and recent construction could be just as valuable as the bombs themselves. Now, second comes battle damage assessment. Even after a strike, someone has to determine whether the target was actually destroyed. Israel's intelligence capability could help assess whether Iran's nuclear infrastructure survived or simply moved deeper underground. And finally comes regional defense. Well, any strike on Pickaxe Mountain would almost certainly trigger retaliation. Iran could launch missiles not only towards American bases but also towards Israel. And the IDF's air defense network, including Arrow, David Sling, and Iron Dome, would likely become a critical part of protecting Israeli territory during any such escalation. Perhaps the biggest talking point is the recent meeting between Israel's new Mossad chief, Roman Goffman, and CIA director, John Radcliffe. Officially, discussions focused on Iran's nuclear program and intelligence cooperation, but that were the only things discussed is very unusual. The CIA and Mossad have worked closely for decades. However, the timing has actually drawn attention. The meeting occurred just as reports emerged that Washington was considering a strike on Pickaxe Mountain. Well, does that automatically mean military action has already been approved? Well, no. There is no public evidence confirming that. But intelligence chiefs meet regularly during crises, you may say. Still, when intelligence coordination intensifies while military planning accelerates, observers naturally begin asking whether preparations are entering a decisive phase. Like we discussed earlier, technically yes, the United States has the military capability to launch a strike independently, but military capability and operational success are not always the same thing. Experts have repeatedly warned that Pickaxe Mountain is among the hardest targets Iran has ever built. Some assessments even suggest that part of the complex may be buried so deep that even America's largest conventional bunker buster bombs may struggle to destroy every section in a single attack. That means planning becomes very critical. Knowing exactly where to hit, understanding how the tunnels are connected, identifying which entrance matters the most, all of these require detailed intelligence. And that is where Israel could become indispensable. If Washington ultimately decides to attack Pickaxe Mountain, Israel's contribution could extend well beyond sending fighter jets. Israel could provide real-time intelligence before the strikes, satellite and surveillance supporting during the operation, electronic warfare capabilities, air defense coverage against Iranian retaliation, post-strike intelligence to determine whether the mission was achieved or not. And even if American bombers conduct the actual work, Israeli involvement could still be substantial behind the scenes. Also remember, modern warfare is increasingly about combining intelligence, cyber operation, surveillance, and most importantly, precise targeting, not just firepower. Now the biggest question remains unanswered. Has Iran actually placed its most sensitive nuclear assets inside Pickaxe Mountain? Well, Israeli intelligence reportedly believes centrifuges were moved there. Iran denies pursuing nuclear weapons, and still there is no publicly verified evidence confirming that enriched uranium is stored inside the mountain. If American and Israeli assessments are correct, Pickaxe Mountain could represent the next stage of Iran's nuclear program. But if those assessments are wrong, a strike would still carry major military and political consequences. Now that uncertainty explains why the decision is so significant. Well, to conclude, over the past 12 days, Israel's relative absence from frontline military operations has stood out. But silence does not necessarily mean inactivity. Maybe behind the closed doors, intelligence sharing appears to be intensifying. President Trump has publicly signaled the Pickaxe Mountain remains in Washington's sights, while certain reports also indicate the United States has briefed Israel on possible next steps. And at the same time, the meeting between the new Mossad chief and CIA director has added another layer of speculation, even though no official has confirmed that a joint strike has been approved. Whether Israel ultimately joins any operation against Pickaxe Mountain still remains unknown. But if the United States conclude that the mountain holds a critical part of Iran's nuclear infrastructure, US military planners may decide that American firepower alone is not enough and that Israeli intelligence, operational support, and regional defense capabilities could be essential to this very mission. For now, that decision has not been acknowledged. But if Pickaxe Mountain becomes the next battlefield, Israel may no longer be the silent partner. Well, with that, it's a wrap on this edition of From the News Desk. Thank you so much for watching, and I'm Yash Goyal signing off for Times Now Digital. Until next time, take care and keep watching this space for more such videos.